Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Bohemian Stitchery, also known as Nancy, and the WIP parade continues. I've managed to pull out a whole lot more WIPs just in case I didn't have enough. I found some more. Now the worst thing about it is I don't even know whether this is all there is. I have a feeling there might be more, but I don't know, there could be anyway. You can see I've been stitching for a long time. You can see I am a serial starter, and I'm going to get these finished. I'm determined to get everything finished before I leave this mortal coil, as they say. That might mean I have to live till I'm about 500 years old, but you know, that's okay. That's also with all the starts that I'd like to make as well. So let's go through the ones I've got here. So I've tried to separate them all out a little bit. So what I've actually got here today is my samplers and some smalls, but I thought I'm not going to do a WIP parade of all the smalls that I've started. I think what I might do with those is, as and when I finish them, I'll show them off as finishes. But right now, there's probably just too many, and frankly, I think everybody would probably be bored looking at all the smalls that I've started. But I've gathered everything here together today. Totally different style today to my last WIP parade. You can see I have very eclectic tastes. I go through phases, went through a real sampler phase, and then I went through a sort of 14 count Ada phase, God knows why, and then now I'm kind of, I don't know what phase I'm in at the moment. I think I'm in I want to do lots of full coverage phase, but I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, once I've been through them all here now, I will then just give you a couple of little updates on things, and then see how we go. Right, glasses on, let's start at the beginning. Okay, so the first one is a sampler, which is kind of a never-ending project. So it started in 2018, and it was called, it was a free chart, this whole thing was a free design, and it was called I can't pronounce it, but I think it was a pattern per week, or it was called Ranger per week, RANDJE. So I'm sorry if I've massacred that for anybody who speaks, I believe it's Dutch. I will put up what it's actually called because it's completely escaped my brain at the moment. I've had a really long, hard day at work. As you can see, I'm recording this in the evening. So if my brain doesn't function, bit of brain fog here, something to do with my age as well, then I do apologize. Anyway, so the thing about this particular project is that they would release every week in 2018 another sort of pattern, and you could do as many or as few as you liked. Now, being the ambitious soul that I am, I was like, oh, well, look, I'll do all of them. And what I want to do is I'll do them on a probably a 32 count Lagana, and I'll do them 1/1. Now, it was all done in two different colors. You can see where I've got to. I started at 2018, and then the plan was that when I got to the bottom, I'd put the date of when I finished. I think I tried to do that before. Oh, well, I suppose it's just evidence of how long some of these things take. Now, this is how ambitious I decided I was. So I got myself a really, 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 oh my God, really long piece of fabric. Whether it's gonna like get to the end of that, I don't think so. I'm not sure there were quite enough bands in order to make it that far down, but I got quite a long way. I really enjoyed it. It was, at the time, it was quite easy to sit down and just do a couple of bands, and then I think it was that bands of the week. There it was, got it. And it was actually done in just these two colors, which is DMC 823 for the dark blue and DMC 498 for the burgundy. So these were the two colors they did them in, and I really like that color combination. So that one's looking quite pretty. Yeah, not really sure Where would I put it? If I finished it, where would I put it? Anyway, so very pretty one. I think I downloaded most of the bands. I'm pretty sure I haven't printed them all out. I'm pretty sure they're all on my computer somewhere, because I'd get really panicky with some of these things that did weekly things. And there's one that I'll show you that I'd sort of lose interest, as I do. And then when I came back to it years later, or months later, or years later, the patterns wouldn't be available anymore. And I'd end up with this kind of half finished thing, which I couldn't finish off. I'm pretty sure I have one WIP somewhere in my stash, which I've done exactly that. I've started it off. I've probably got the first 4 patterns, and then I just didn't get any more, and there's no way I'm ever going to be able to finish it because the patterns aren't available anymore. So, but that's okay. We can UFO that one, but that's if I can find it. I mean, who knows where it is. Okay, moving on from that one. Right, so the next one was also a stitch along. You can see I went through a real stitch along phase around 2018. Let's have a look. Let's find the boxes. Okay, this was by Tempting Tangles, I believe. There we go. Let's make sure I have that right. Yep, Tempting Tangles Designs. It was done in 2017, and it was called the Blue Poppy Sampler. Eliza Tickle 1703. There was quite a lot of specialty stitches in here, which really appealed to me. I definitely have got the whole thing. And the actual pattern gives lovely instructions on how to do, you know, some of there's a little bit of 4-sided stitch. There's obviously lots of cross stitch, back stitch. What other kind of stitches have we got in here? Satin stitch, darning stitch, herringbone stitch. There's even some peacocks in here, which is quite pretty. Italian cross stitch, 2-sided Italian cross stitch. All of which are beautiful stitches. So this is where I got to again. Oops, you can see I just abandoned that piece of thread there. Teeny tiny little letters. Now I used a piece of linen from my stash, and I got quite a lot of second-hand pieces of linen. As you can see, this is not an even weave linen. It is a standard piece of linen. There's some quite heavy slubbing in it. But I do quite like the finish of it. But as you can see, because it's not even weave, everything's just a little bit squashed down. So the crosses are sort of short and wide as opposed to being square. So I realized that kind of once I'd started the border, and just thought, oh, it gives it a bit of character, and it's a pretty piece of linen, and maybe it makes it a little more authentic if it really is a reproduction sampler from the 1700s. I'm sure they didn't have even weave back in the 1700s. So there you go. Okay, so that's that one. All right, now the next one is a long dog sampler. I started this in May of 21, in my huge big month of Stitch Mania that year. It's called Spirit of Marken. It's one of their very well-known patterns. I do like long dog sampler patterns. Can't say I've ever finished one, but that doesn't mean I don't like them. It doesn't mean I haven't got several. Now, I chose to do this. This again is probably a piece of 32 count linen. It's an off-white. As you can see, I've made a start there. Now I'm stitching that 1/2. So this is just a brief little interlude, because as I was editing that video, I realized I'd made a complete mess up with the silk that I was using. I thought, I can't leave that in, so I'm going to re-record, let you know the proper silk that I'm using, and then we can get back to our WIP parade. So I did take the picture of the sampler that I'd done down very quickly. There it is. So now you can get a decent look of how much I've done, which is not very much. And you can see the beautiful purple that I'm using. Now, the silk that I'm actually using is in a Verissoir 6-stranded silk in a purple. You can see the gorgeous colour, especially as it's nighttime. You can really see the shine on it from the light above me. I have multiple skeins of this, so I don't think I'll run out, considering I'm doing it 1 strand over 2. And in fact, I think I've got so much of it that I probably could do a companion piece to go with this piece. So yeah, so now that I've explained the proper silk, we can now get back to our WIP parade. All right, now there's another stitch along. Now this is the one that I was a little bit afraid that I might not have downloaded all of the pattern. I do think they may still have it online. I don't know, there may be a day that I kind of went in and thought, right, if I don't download all of the bits of this stitch along, it was free, it was a free stitch along, I'm gonna end up with half a sampler. It's called the Weavers Tapestry Sampler Stitch Along. It was in 2018, it's the first time. It's by, let's see, the website was magicalquilts.blogspot.com. Don't know if it still exists. I will look it up to see if it does. But I do know that after 2018, she then did a whole lot of stitch alongs, and they're lovely. They really are. She put them all together, and you know, and they're free, which is just amazing. Anyway, so unfortunately I can't show you a picture of it because it was a stitch along, and there we go. So this is where I got to. I just did me and my stitch alongs, not very good at them. I stitch, I just don't go along with the stitching. So I managed the top part of the border. Now the colors I'd chosen to do it in, so that dark green is 924. Yes, it's DMC 924. So that's what I was going to do the outside border in. And then remember I said where there's not a lot of anchor here. At one stage, one of the shops was just clearing out their entire anchor stock because they weren't going to stock it anymore. So I bought a whole lot of this particular variegated thread, 1355. I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 9 skeins of it here. So I thought I'd do the body of that particular sampler in this lovely sort of yellowy, greeny, bluey variegation. Once again, I better not run out of thread. Although this is the kind of sampler where you could just kind of finish a motif and just go, that's enough, and then finish the border along the bottom. So I'd probably get away with it. I'm doing it on a piece of, I suspect this is 20 count hardanger. I always thought that was funny, calling it hardanger, because when I learned hardanger, you wouldn't do hardanger on hardanger, you do hardanger on linen, but you know, that's just the way I was taught. So anyway, it's really good for cross stitch. So I'm doing it 2/1 on 20 count hardanger, and it's coming up looking beautifully. Again, I've got a very long piece of fabric, so I was obviously quite ambitious. Never know, I might have these 2 hanging on my wall. They'll look beautiful at some point, I'm sure. It's another one. I'll pop that one down. Okay, the next one was another stitch along. Surprise, surprise. Probably also from 2018, again, 2017. This was the, also from Tempting Tangles. It was the Wildflower Woodland Quaker Sampler Stitch Along. Now, I have got quite a long way on this one. It's really quite pretty. It's done on a piece of grey linen, 28 count, I think. Maybe 32, just judging by the size of those stitches, maybe 32. Colours are gorgeous. I love this little owl here. So I'm more than halfway through. So again, like many of these that I'm pulling out, I probably should get this one out and finish it off. It's really pretty. I really like the sort of the bright colours and, you know, the different patterns, different stitches. So yes, that's another one that I should add to the rotation to get done. Okay, where am I going to put this? Not enough floor space here. Okay, next one is one that I believe I may have started for the Stitch Mania, but no, I tell you when I started this during the COVID lockdown. It is called Ningaloo by DD Designs. That's it there. Okay, now I'm doing this in Dinky Dyes Silk, and that is the silk color I'm doing it in, with this beautiful green. These are hand-dyed silks as the highlights. So I believe I actually bought this as a kit. And I think, so yes, designed by Joanne Fisher Mason for DD Designs. And I think, yeah, I think I got it as a kit. So I think these are the colors that were called for. I got the threads. I used my own piece of linen. Again, it was a piece of linen from my stash. As you can see, I finished, well, most of the border, so you can see how big it's going to be. Sorry, it's not ironed. I didn't really iron things. There's no point in ironing it until I finished it. But you can see that. You can see the light behind it, can't you? Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so there you go. You can see I've done much of the border. I still can't remember. I think it's this way around. So yeah, I'm just working along the top to finish the border, and then I've got the middle section, all of this bit to go. So again, really pretty, easy stitch. So that one's that's another one, and I love the colours. And silk, oh, stitching with silk, it's just beautiful. It really is beautiful. If I won like $50 million, I'd just stitch with silks all the time, but you know, that's not going to happen. So we may as well stick with our DMC. Right, okay, I've shown you that one already. Okay, here is another sampler. I think I started this one as a stitch along as well. Can't remember. I did buy the called for silks at this time. It's by Stitchy Box. It's called the Sarah Davis Clonmel Sampler from 1824. That's a picture of the sampler. Okay, and it's all done in, what kind of silks are these? Needlepoint silks, needlepoint ink silks. There we go. Yes, so they're rather lovely. And I've done, that's how much I've done. So yeah, I've made good progress on that one as well. And that's been done on, definitely a 28 count linen. It looks like an oatmeal. It's not quite natural. It's not quite dark enough to be a natural. So, or maybe lamb's wool. So yep, that's a nice piece. It will be nice when finished. Okay, gosh. Right, I think that was also from 2017. I'm pretty sure that was from 2017 as well. I think I did most of these started in 2017. All right, so let's try and get them. Right. Now this one, I think this is the sort of the free sampler stitch along that started the free sampler stitch along phenomenon. I don't know if I'm going out on a limb saying that, but I think this was the one that just got the whole craze going. And this comes from, they were Linen and Threads at the time. This is Karen and Bren. They are now Fox and Rabbit. And they released a mystery sampler free in 2017. Every month they released a new band, and it just took off. And from the time they did that, then suddenly there was just lots of free mystery samplers, etc. Now, I'm sure there probably were before. I just know that this one, particularly here in Australia, this one just went mad. I mean, people were stitching it in every colour you could imagine, in all the sizes. I even saw somebody stitch it 1/1 on 50 count. It was just amazing the way that people finished this off. Now, I think I've only printed up till July 2017. I do have the whole thing. So I can show you the picture of up to July 2017. There we are. I'm not sure if it's still available online. I know that it was available for a while, so I'm not sure whether it still is. I do know that I've downloaded the whole lot though, because as usual, I didn't get as far as I could. Okay, so there's my start. Right, now I did it on pink Lagana. Something about pink Lagana. I'm pretty sure I discussed pink Lagana before. And I was somewhat ambitious about like picking colors. What I planned to do was kind of each row, I wanted to sort of, I had 3 shades of brown, and then I was going into 3 shades of green, and then 3 shades of blue, because I thought it'd look nice on the pink. I've mulled it over since then, and I'm thinking maybe just the brown and the green. Do you know, if I hadn't done the green part already, I may have just gone, okay, let's just use 3 shades of brown and be done with it. The fact I've put this green in already, and it is 1/1. Yeah, it's 1/1. I'm not gonna frog it. I am not going to frog it. I think what I'll do is I will work out the whole pattern using those 6 colors. So 2 colors, like 3 shades in each color. So I'm using, oh no, there's more than 3. There's 5 shades in each color. So I'm using the 500 range in the greens. So 500, 501, 502, 503, and 504. And then in the browns, I'm using the 838, dark, 839, slightly lighter, 840, 841, and then 842. So there's 5 shades, not 3 shades, 5 shades in each color. And I think if I sat down with the pattern, I'd work out where I'm going to use each shade. And I reckon if I just stick with those 2 colors, it'll probably look okay. I think if I'd added then in like 5 shades of blue as well, it probably would have been a bit too much. So like all of them, I'd like to get that finished at some stage. And I could have a wall of samplers. It would be amazing. Oh, it would be amazing. Okay, so that's that one. All right, shove that one on the floor. Okay, now, oh, I'm sorry. There's still more to come. Sorry, I'm just down here on the floor. Just go down on the floor. I'll be back. There we go, I'm back. Right, sorry, they just went everywhere. All right, so another sampler, another stitch along from 2017, 2018, I can't remember, all around. Now this one was done by Lakeside Needlecraft. It was designed by Doreen Jones, and it was called the Bands of Variation Sampler. Now, this wasn't free, this was a purchased one. There's 12 parts to it. And she did it in, you had a choice of colorways. So she did it in 5 different colorways. And then you, depending on which of the colorways you chose, would give it sort of an earthy look or a spring-like look or whatever. Anyway, I chose to do it on black 18 count Ada. And I chose a very autumnal colorway. I think that there were names to all of these colorways, and I think this was something about autumn. I can't remember. It's a little while back now, but depending on your colors, pastel, rainbow, bright, and neutral brown, autumnal. There you go. This was the autumnal one. So it was using, they're all the variegated. These are all DMC variegateds. Okay. So the various DMC, they've all got the variegation to them. And so it gives you, so you just basically follow along, and it just depends, as I said, on which colorway you chose. So this is how, oh, that's not going to work too well because, here we are, I'll have to put it back here. Is that going to work? That's better. There we go. Okay, this is how far I got. Yep, make each day your masterpiece. Oh, I think that's come up backwards. That's not good. It does say, make each day your masterpiece. So yeah, so this is in sort of lovely browns and yellows, and then it goes into greens and stuff. So it looked really effective on the black. Again, it's quite long. So yeah, that'll hang on my wall of samplers, which I'm sure I'm going to have in this house at some point. Probably at the time the kids have grown up and left home, and I'm an old lady here all on my own, sitting with my cats and my stitching. Sounds like a perfect way to spend the twilight years of my life. Right, okay, so that was that one. I showed you that one already. Right, now the last few, let's see if they all fit into the same thing. Yes, they do. Okay, so when I was living in Britain, I was a member of Jane Greenoff's Cross Stitch Guild. I kept my membership going right up until this year. Finances have meant that I've had to let it lapse this year. But what I love about Jane Greenoff's work, lots of sort of samplers, floral. I've always loved her work, right from the time, we're going way, way back when she used to have a magazine. And when I was over in Britain, she used to run cross-stitch weekends, 3 of them a year. And for at least a couple of years, I went on all of them. I remember one year, my daughter was still breastfeeding, and so my mum, who was over from Australia, came along so that she could take care of my tiny infant daughter while I stitched. And then she would just come in every 2 hours when Josie needed feeding. I'd go off and feed her and go back and stitch. Mum would take Josie up to the room. So that's how it went. So anyway, so I have a lot of Jane Greenoff's kits. I do love her stuff. Some of these that I have here are from the stitching weekends, because every weekend that we went on, she would give us a project for that particular weekend, and we could either work on that project or our own project. It was up to us. So yeah, so I have a stack of her kits because I just like them so much. So the first one is her Silverwood Sampler. Okay, you can see it's a pretty extensive sampler, and you can see her style. It's gorgeous. She uses a lot of specialty stitches, so it's not just cross stitch. I mean, it's predominantly cross stitch, but she's also very good with hardanger. She also uses some drawn thread techniques, which gives her samplers a real bit of variation throughout them. So they're really pretty. So this one is on a 28 count linen. I bought it as a kit, so the linen came with it. You can see that's my, oh no, I'm gonna have to put something behind that because otherwise, here we go, let's do it like this. Whew, that's the wrong piece of linen. Let's do it like this. Here we go. So that's my start. Now, can you see that okay? Let's get that straightened. Oh, come on, Nancy, stop being silly. There we go, right. Now, what I've done is I've done a center line so that I can work on either side of the line, and that made sure it was nice and central. Okay, now this is a big sampler, and you know, once again, we have a very long piece of linen here, and that was the linen that came with the kit. So this is a big sampler. This will have to go onto my wall of samplers. I have to have a house with a really high ceiling, and then I can have them all hanging down. That would look great, wouldn't it? Look great. So yeah, so I've made a reasonable start on that one. That's the Silverwood Sampler. Can't remember when I started that. Possibly Stitch Mania. Looks like I've done too much for it to be a Stitch Mania start, but you never know. Might have picked it up since then. Okay, so next one is another Jane Greenoff. This one is called the Floral Garden Sampler. I actually had a moment as I was bringing all these out thinking, I've lost the pattern. I don't know where it is. It's not in the box with everything. And straight away panicked, like, what am I going to do? I can't find the pattern. Anyway, I'd in my infinite wisdom, I'd put the pattern away in a folder and stuck it somewhere else. But luckily, I found it. Right, so that, if you can see, I'm going to have to do it a little bit like this. This is the Floral Garden Sampler. You can see there's lots of beautiful specialty stitches in here. Got some drawn thread down here. We've even got some, I wish I could remember what that was called. It's not hardanger, but it's very similar. I have done a class on it with Christine Bishop. In fact, I've done several. Yeah, more drawn thread, lots of cross stitch in there as well. So really, really pretty one. Okay, and this, I'm going to have to do this with a blue background, sorry about that. But at least it's not with light shining through. This is how far I've got. You can see I've already done one of the specialty thread bands, and the cross stitch. Again, I've marked the center line. So this one, I've abandoned this one. I've really abandoned. It's even got a thread hanging down with a needle still in it. It just goes to show. This one's not as long. It's still quite long, but not as long as the other one. So this might just take up a little space on my sampler wall. I finished that one. Alrighty. So that's Jane Greenhoff. Actually, I think most of the rest of mine here coming are Jane Greenhoff. So if you haven't looked at her stuff, I highly recommend the Cross Stitch Guild. It's great. If you like that kind of thing, of course. Okay, this one's a small one, but it's still kind of a sampler. It's another Jane Greenhoff. It's called Autumn Needle Roll. So as well as like the big samplers that she does lots of little stitching accessories and things. There's some beautiful ones. I mean, I said I think I own half her kits. They're probably all sitting there. One day I will do a kit parade. Actually, I'm probably going to have to break it into maybe 2 or 3, because I have lots and lots and lots and lots of kits, and I don't want to bore the pants off everybody if I can help it. So so we might just split those up into mini kit parades. All right, so this one's called Autumn Needle Roll. There you go. Okay, so you can see it's a little sampler, which she then makes into a little tiny little needle roll, and it is only tiny, and I have almost finished the stitching. Put that on the purple background so you can see. Here you go. So I'm so close to finishing that one. And you can see there's some specialty stitches. This is Queen Stitch in here. God, this is stretching my memory. It's been so long. We've got a bit of four-sided stitch up here. No, brain gone. Can't remember that stitch. We'll remember it. Bullion knots. I've got some bullion knots up the top here. I haven't finished the bullions. I think there probably should be a couple more. So yes, so she makes use of some lovely embroidery stitches and uses it to enhance and embellish her cross stitch. So okay, so that's a little one. That's an easy win, that one. That's one that I ought to get finished, because I reckon I could get that one done really quickly. I'm starting to sound like a broken record here, aren't I? Yeah, I should get this one finished. Oh, I should get this one finished. Oh, I should get this one finished. Anyway, right. Another Jane Greenhoff one. This is from her special counted collection. So what this usually meant was, again, lots of stitching accessories, but this one's got quite a bit of hardanger on it, as well as the cross stitch. So she did a beautiful combination of the two. It's called the Wildflower Collection. I think I told you that. Sorry, everything's appearing reversed today. I don't know why. Whatever. Okay, so you can see this is like a needle and thingy holder. Little needle book, scissor book, scissor fob, scissor sheath, scissor fob. And they've got these gorgeous lines of hardanger. And one of the things I loved about her hardanger, because I love colour, and of course traditional hardanger is white on white. I never really liked white on white. To me, if you've got colour, let's use colour. So doing colourful hardanger just makes my heart sing. So that's that one. I haven't got far on this one. This was a Stitch Mania start. So I do remember this one. Let's just pop a piece of paper behind it, because yet again, 28 count linen. So most of her work, in fact, yeah, most of it was on linen. It all came in the kit. I haven't done very much. So teeny tiny little start on that one. So yeah. And of course you got all of the bits of linen for the needle book and the fobs and everything. So, and all of the threads as well. She used Oliver Twist space dyed fine Amebnian cotton, hand dyed pure felt, stranded cottons. She'd always use Madeira. She didn't use DMC, she used Madeira. And they're lovely. Her colours are just beautiful. Her colour choices are beautiful. Okay, it's another Jane Greenhoff. I have a feeling the last two are also Jane Greenhoffs. Okay, so this one is, it's almost a surprise, how exciting. This is also from her special counted collection. This one is called Tansy Stitches Trio. Oh, that's my cat meowing. There's my cat meowing again. He's quite noisy tonight. Okay, so again, a little needle book, scissor sheath, and this is a little pin keep here. So all matching. Some beautiful hand-dyed, Oliver Twist hand-dyed silks. Oh, so tactile. And there's a piece, check the color of this piece of silk. Oh, it's so pretty. Okay, so that lines the inside of the needle book. I had to check this when I opened it, going, have I actually started this, or have I just put it in a box? But I have actually started it. This is done on a piece of 28 count natural linen. Let's put it here. Okay. So that's my start. Oh, is that? Here we go. Yeah. So that's my start. Again, she has a style which I love, and never really get tired of stitching her style. So that's why I have so many of them. Right. That's that one. Now the last one is that the last one? Yes, that's the last one. It's also a Jane Greenock. Now this is one that, remember I said we would get a kit at the beginning at each weekend, and then it was up to us if we wanted to stitch that or we actually wanted to do our own work. It didn't really matter. So this one was called Threads of the Past Box. Okay. Okay. And we actually make the box as well as doing the stitching. Here we are. And that goes on the inside of the lid of the box. So she gives you full instructions to make the silk box. There's a funny story about this. Let me show you my stitching first, then I'll tell you the funny story. All right. So I've done almost all the stitching. That'll be the top of the box. Scissor sheath. And that's the little pin cushion that goes on the inside of the box. Now, this would have been from maybe this was the year my daughter was born, maybe 2014, maybe 2013, I can't remember. Anyway, maybe 2014. And then I sat down and I made the box with, you know, all the instructions. I hand sewed it. With the silk, I lined it. I did the whole works. And it had sort of obviously 2 long sides, 2 short sides. And the silk has a slub to it. And then it was only after I'd sewed it up, I'd realized I'd actually done one of the sides where the silk was going that way and one of the sides where the silk was going that way. It's like, do I pull it out? Do I just leave it anyway? Anyway, I don't know where I've put the box that I made. It's been around for ages. Now, bear in mind, I've moved countries in that time. I've moved houses probably 3-4 times. I don't know where the box is, but I do know the box doesn't have this on it because I haven't put it on because it's still here. So I'm kind of thinking I might need to make the box again. I'm not sure whether I've got enough silk. She did provide us with quite a lot of the silk. I never made the lids. You see, I've still got the bits of card here ready to make the lid. So I made the bottom part of the box, but I never made the lid. So I still have some silk here. I don't think I've got enough to do the box again. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. Maybe it's around somewhere. Maybe it just got lost somewhere as I was crossing the equator. I don't know. You ask yourself, why did I make the box and not put everything together with the box? Or better still, why didn't I finish this and then make the box? But you know, I don't know. Where logic? I don't think me and logic really. I don't think we work very well together. Anyway, right. So that's, I think, my WIPs to date that I've found. So what I'm going to do, I think this will be the last like big WIP parade, at least for the time being. Like many other floss tubers, I think I might either, depending on middle of the year, maybe towards the end of the year, I'll do another WIP parade. Guaranteed, being the serial starter I'm guaranteed to start more projects so they can all go in. And I am hoping to finish some projects. I've had some wonderful comments from people, really encouraging. I found a stitch along for one of my WIPs, so I'm going to use that. I still don't get time to stitch very much, but you know, if I manage more than 10 stitches a day, I'm feeling like I've done really well. And it's also just being kind to myself and saying, you know, if you do 10 stitches, that's good. And not kind of get all panicky like, oh, I've got all these things I want to do and I just don't have time because I'm so busy, and just be happy with the fact that, look, I've put 10 stitches in. I am 10 stitches further forward than I was yesterday. So I think my next video, now that I've done my WIPs, I might do an update video on where I'm at. I've made a little bit of progress, a bit of a chat. I'm going to do some stitch and chats. I thought that might be a really nice way for me to get my lady and my unicorn done, is do some stitch and chats. I'm also I am going to do a kit parade. I'm going to do a kit parade. The final thing, I had to show you this because it's my birthday on Saturday. It's not a big birthday. Next year is a big birthday. So next year I'm already thinking of ways. I've never done this before. I've never done a birthday year. I don't really focus on birthdays because it feels like a bit too much me going, oh, look here, look at me, everybody celebrate me. And that just doesn't really sit well with me. But next year I turn 50. And so I thought, I've got to mark this. This is a big year, turning 50. So I've got to mark my 50th year. Don't quite know what yet. I've got all these ambitious ideas of, 50 starts in my 50th year or 50 finishes in my 50th. I don't know. I'll think of something. But that's next year. We'll worry about next year. At the moment, it's my birthday this weekend. And I've already asked for a birthday gift from my mum, which is this huge diamond painting. It's actually by, sorry if I massacre his name, but Ciro Marchetti, who also designs for Heaven and Earth. I love his work. This particular diamond painting of his is stunning. In fact, you can get the cross stitch pattern of it on Heaven and Earth. I haven't got the cross stitch. I had this completely harebrained idea of how about I do the diamond painting and the cross stitch, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do that because my life's kind of too short. There are so many Heaven and Earth patterns I'd like to stitch, so I'm not going to stitch the same one that I've already got hanging on the wall as a diamond painting. But what I thought to myself is that I'd like to buy myself a birthday present. I don't tend to spend money on myself because there's usually too many bills and things to pay, and I'm on a fairly tight budget. So I thought, it's my birthday, surely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kit up, and I will show you. I've got it over here. Sorry. I printed it off. So I've had this pattern, which I'm sure many of you will know. Oh, is it focused? I don't know. My eyes aren't very good. I can't tell whether it's focused. I apologize if it's not. It is. It's About Time by Ciro Marchetti. I don't know. I'm so sorry. That's just such an Aussie thing to do, isn't it? Just massacre a pronunciation. We're so bad at that. Anyway, I love this piece. I bought this probably 3 or 4 years ago. I've never kitted it up. So I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to buy a piece of 28 count Easy Guide. I've already started kitting it. I have quite a lot of the floss in my stash, probably half the skeins, so I don't have to buy all of them. I only have to probably buy half of them. And then I might make a start on that one because I'd like to, and it's my birthday. And what better to do for your birthday than start a new cross stitch? Won't be this weekend, going away with the kids, going camping. Probably not going to be a huge amount of cross stitch done. Too busy trying to make sure the tent doesn't blow away. So yeah, so that's going to be my birthday treat. So I think at the moment, that's all my updates. Thank you once again for watching. This has gone on longer than I wanted again, but that's because I ramble. So yeah, so keep watching. There'll be more to come. We'll look forward to my kit parade. Have a look at my stash. And in the meantime, happy crafting. See you later. Bye.